So one of the first key barriers that came out from that research and insights phase was that there's confusion when identifying compostable packaging. So people's initial perception of what the packaging was tended to be based on what the packaging looked and felt like. So some of the compostable packaging that's used in the canteens looks very similar to clear plastic or to cardboard. So that's what people were automatically presuming that it is. There were other types of packaging that perhaps had a more fibrous or unusual texture that people therefore thought felt a bit more compostable. There were also differing logos, labels, and messaging on the packaging in the canteens. Sometimes there was a mix between compostable packaging suppliers. So Vegware was usually the majority supplier, but at some points there might have been some other types of compostable packaging that have ended up in the mix, and that meant that there's different logos and messaging on the packaging in the canteen. Or sometimes there was also a mix between compostable and non-compostable items of the same packaging type. So for example, at some of the sites there was compostable and non-compostable coffee cups. And we knew that that type of thing was going to be out of our control for this project. So we knew that we had to make it easier for people to identify compostable packaging whilst accepting that there may sometimes be those difficulties. There was also some suggestions in the focus groups around improving how easy it is to identify the packaging by using labels or symbols. This also aligns with UCL's previous study that calls for having clear labels on compostable packaging. So with that main barrier around the confusion when identifying compostable packaging, we designed a clear and distinctive label to help employees identify the compostable packaging and know how to dispose of it. We conducted online testing with 200 people to identify the label that we ended up going with, which is this image on the right. This was chosen based on the feedback that it was the most understandable and the most eye-catching. We went for a bright pink colour because we wanted to choose a colour that would stand out and wasn't associated with other behaviours. So for example, green is commonly associated with recycling. Brown, which is commonly associated with composting, is perhaps not the most eye-catching. So we wanted to go with a colour that people didn't already have that automatic association with, but something that was bright, so that once they have recognised this pink label and learnt what it means, that it signifies the packaging is compostable, then that behaviour can become easier and more automatic to do by just recognising that bright pink colour. The clear labelling also may help to make it easier for identifying contamination in the bins, because if packaging has a clear, easily identifiable label on it, you can identify it from non-compostable versions, such as that situation with having the two types of coffee cups on a site. The design itself is based on hybrid symbolism between packaging, with it looking like a cup in the base, but also composting, with it becoming to look like a plant pot and a plant growing out of that. We went for the do not recycle dual label design with input from OPRL, the Unpacked Recycling Labels. This is to align with proposed legislation for compostable packaging to be labelled with a do not recycle message. So we wanted this label to be a realistic test of something that could be implemented alongside that legislation. And finally, just to explain that we applied this label to the packaging in the trial as a sticker. We had people putting thousands of stickers on pieces of compostable packaging, but the intention was to replicate if this was a permanent label that would be printed on the packaging itself, so not intended to be used as a label in future.